I was in a place called Yallo in Afar in 1973. My life totally changed because as a nurse I saw people starve to death. I didn't know that could possibly happen. I had no imagination about that when I was living in Sydney. One mother brought me the baby in the early morning, that baby died. The child in the midday, that child died, and the child at sunset died. 3 children from one family, from one mother, dying of malnutrition. I just could not take the idea of this amazing amount of injustice. I came back and came back and came back to the Horn of Africa, eventually married when I was 39 years old. I married my husband, who's an Afar. Now I've lived here 30 years and I couldn't find a better life if I looked for one, I don't think. My name is Valerie Browning, but as the Afar know me, Malika, and I'm their program coordinator. The Afar, by history and by their environment and by everything that you can, makes them up, they're pastoralists. A pastoralist is a person whose livelihood is dependent on his herd, moving place to place for water and for grazing. Afar are actually, to my mind, having lived with them for 30 years, ecologists. They love their environment backwards. They know every tree, every grass, every rock, everything about their environment. They want to preserve it, and they have rules and regulations in their tradition to do that. And that's really why they do move, so that at any one time they don't destroy the environment of the trees, the grass, the whatever's around. They move on to let it rejuvenate. Challenges in Afar are huge. Climate change is as obvious as breathing here. It's really, really here. Temperatures are higher. Rain seasons have gone from 4 a year down to 2. Rain seasons are much more violent. A lot of people die of lightning strike. It's a lot different than when I came. I've been here 30 years. When I came, they had so much milk from their animals that they were able to literally play with it. Today, maybe 6 months of the year, children, mothers, everybody are not drinking milk. And so we've gone from being very well off to being a community who are living in malnutrition, threatened by thirst, threatened by the herd loss itself, and not being able to get into the market. So that opens the whole thing of their challenges. Very few Afar drink protected water, so diseases spread easily. Vaccination, you need to take a mobile cold chain, you need to take a refrigerator with a generator, as we've just done 2 days ago to 2 districts, to keep the ice going so you can go house to house vaccinating children. Otherwise they're dying of measles, dying of whooping cough. Heaps and heaps of challenges. Illiteracy is the greatest. I mean, if you're illiterate, then you're stuck with your brain in some form of metal box, and you can't do any form of different thinking other than what was known before. That's what illiteracy is all about. It's quite strange. But once you become literate, then you bounce with energy till you could kill the world. You want to change everything. With the changes of society as fast as they are today, Afar are losing out. The Afar region, although it's one of the hottest inhabited places on earth, so they say, it is full of mineral resource, it's full of many resources, including geothermal resources. But as soon as it's possible, people other than Afar come rushing to take that resource. So Afar are really still the people missing out in their own land. It's a strange land. It's a land with people, nomadic people, who move 5-6 times a year, but somehow the rest of Ethiopia says it's empty, and they don't take in notice of the people. Before they could catch up, their resources were taken from them and used for other things, other people. As Ethiopia has done what the previous Prime Minister Meles Zenawi said, industrialised and moved on, Afar haven't. There is nothing here that puts the main livelihood of the people, the livestock, into focus. Abdar came into a world of challenges. We were 34 Afar, and we eventually were the beginning of Abdar. We were voluntary. We came into a community of pastoralists who'd never learned to read and write before, never had education, never had health, and were not connected to the cash market. We work where the government doesn't work. So all over Afar, in the far rural areas, they know our organisation, and we are trying to see that the people get what should be their basic human rights. That's what we'd like to see. Abdar started the literacy of the Afar and started a system of mobile education so the pastoralist children could go to the first level of school, and then we try to feed them into the government school. And then when you come to health, well, you've got the mother trying to have a baby with nothing except for a cutting knife, a traditional cutting knife, to open up her female genital mutilation scar. So there you are, poor mother, she lives and dies with no knowledge, no nothing, no connection, no referral, no nothing. 100% of the women have FGM, they've had it. So they know the danger, they know the pain, they know the difficulties. So now they're going to help women who are pregnant, women who are going to have children, women, young girls, and help them to understand why it is so important to demand from their families that FGM doesn't happen, and if they've got it, how to get treatment, how to get released from all the problems, particularly the urinary problems of FGM. Basically, FGM is done by the Afar because they think they're protecting the woman from being touched by another man other than a husband. They think that they're keeping her pure. But the sad thing is, the awful thing is, by doing the FGM, they've made the vagina opening so tiny. It's like you could only put a straw through. And so if she was in her married life unable to be penetrated, then she gives birth with this. She has to be cut. There has to be a woman with a knife around. I know of a woman in Shifra, for example. She went into childbirth when all the family had gone to the market. All was left in the house was 3-4-year-olds, little children running around. She yelled at the children and said, please, please help me, take the knife, cut me, cut me, cut me. And her stomach is so huge with the pregnancy, she can't get down below. That woman actually died trying to get the baby out. The baby died inside. And this, if you tell that to the Afar and explain it to the Afar, and anyway they hear the news of what happened to that woman, that means they will change. They will. But this is the tragedy of FGM. FGM is literally what it says, a mutilation of the body. But it's a 3,000-year-old culture. So it won't change in a day, it won't change in a moment, but it will change in time. And when people have got health services, when people are literate, when people are able to understand that, you know, there is a way of the female being kept pure without this mutilation. We have a special assistance from Ethiopia Aid Australia who have allowed us to get right inside the whole problem, to understand where the actual perpetrators or the practitioners are of this FGM, what to do with these practitioners. And Ethiopia Aid have also helped us with getting right beside the religious leader so he can really understand what Islam says about this. Islam says not to do it. Islam is against FGM, but they hide behind the curtain of belief in Islam and say, oh, God wants you to be pure, therefore you must have it. Well, that is not the case. So what we found in the enormous support of Ethiopia Aid Australia is that we are getting deeper and deeper into the problem. I have great confidence it will stop. It'll take more time. We need to be more holistic in our approach. We're using the youth, we're using the young girls, we're going into schools, we're going into every aspect of their lives to talk about this. I met here in this town a girl who was married at the age of 13. She had a first child at the age of 14 probably. She's now about 17 with a 3-year-old girl. And poor girl, her future's been wrecked by this really, because she's never been to school. And she probably will never go to school. I asked her what sort of age husband she's got. She said, oh, she gave me an idea that he might be 15 to 20 years older than her. Well, yeah, this is to keep the clan together. This is to keep the name of the clan going. But in the end, girls and women are going to have their rights here, but they're going to have it in a disciplined system. The hardest practice to give up, I think, is that of the way they marry the girl without her choice. And that is really damaging. That will change. It'll change with education, but they must have holistic education, sound education for everybody, and then it can change well. If we go the way we're going and just depend on donors for short-term projects and they go bang, 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 we will make no changes because the community not like that. They need sustainable development. They need long-term support to literacy, to change, to develop their own health teams and so on, and actually utilise the resources of their land, become part of the market, etc., etc., retaining the culture and the traditions they have. Abda's at a crossroad of changing strategy to make greater sustainability, to build up community resilience and capacity to manage their own affairs, really manage their own affairs. That has to really happen in a big way. We can't just be in-out people at all. Most NGOs are in-out, most. And this cannot go on. It cannot go on. What we're talking about is community development. If we are really committed to community development, then we're committed to them developing to the stage they need to, getting all basic human rights. And I wonder how much of that commitment there is in the world. I wonder. The Afar has moved my brain out of what the West is in. The West is trapped by its own capitalism. Trapped. You have to have more. You've got to advertise down you can't pick up your phone without seeing an advertisement. Horrible. You can't sit in a train without seeing an advertisement. So Afar know another side of life. I've never in 30 years treated an Afar for depression. Never. How is that? They look after each other. We have this enormous community kind of family idea. I mean, I feel like I am the top privileged Australian that there is.